Tonight, we are very happy to have with us back Cindy Papale, Hammontree, and Sabrina Hernandez, Cano, and the Miami breast cancer experts. Our panel of experts, as you see sitting right here, I will let them be introduced in turn. But we have a very special guest to introduce our panel this evening. Diana Gonzalez is NBC6's health reporter, bringing South Florida the latest news in medicine and health care. She's a veteran WTVJ reporter. She started her career here as a news reporter and worked as a producer for the Montage weekly magazine show that you all remember. Throughout her extensive broadcast news career, Diana has received numerous regional and national awards, including 3 Florida Emmys and 2 regional Emmys, and the Award for Excellence in Medical Journalism from the Florida Medical Association. In addition to her education and her years of work experience, being a cancer survivor herself enhances her ability to cover health news. Let's give her a big warm welcome, Diana Gonzalez.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see so many familiar faces in this very large crowd. And I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us and for being here to celebrate the official release of Miami Breast Cancer Experts, which is great. And thank those who are joining us online. And we, first and foremost, as you all know, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And in the room tonight, we have quite a few survivors. And can the survivors please stand up? Cindy? Cindy? Now you're going to be able to get your books signed a little later on. But first you're going to be hearing from a few of the contributors and the actual authors, Cindy Papale Hammontree and Sabrina Hernandez Cano. They have compiled more than 25 chapters filled with information from healthcare experts who are experts in diagnosing and treating breast cancer. You're going to find details on topics ranging from mammograms, biopsies, and reconstruction to sex after diagnosis and positive thinking. Plus, and this is my favorite part, there are personal stories from women sharing their experiences in dealing with this disease. I'm sure many of you found out about tonight's event directly through Cindy Papale. Let's see, I'm going to describe her as tireless and tenacious. Her husband earlier called you persistent. And he ought to know, right? You got him twice. Anyway, 7 years ago, when I was the health reporter at NBC6, I'm no longer doing that, but when I was the health reporter there, Cindy wore me down through a barrage of emails and phone calls, not as active on Facebook back then, but she wore me down until I agreed to cover the signing event for the original book, The Empty Cup Runneth Over. And after that, Cindy did a very good job of keeping in touch with me, and eventually we became friends. I attended her wedding last November when Cindy remarried her ex-husband, which is a story in and of itself, and I'll let her fill in the details. But sitting next to me at the wedding was Dr. Gail Ironson, who is a professor of psychology and psychiatry at the University of Miami. Dr. Ironson has over 100 publications in the field of behavioral medicine applied to HIV/AIDS, cancer, and cardiovascular disease. And she's the incoming president of the Academy of Behavioral Medicine Research Society. She has a long list of accomplishments, including writing the foreword for this book. So please welcome Dr. Gail Ironson.
Thank you very much, Diana. And I'm so pleased and excited to be here. Thank you, Cindy. How does one cope with getting a diagnosis of breast cancer? 1 in 8 women will get this diagnosis. And if you're fortunate enough to not be one of those, chances are you will have a relative or a friend who has one. who has that diagnosis. So this daunting and overwhelming diagnosis, what do? My advice is get a good doctor and get a good book. Actually, get a great book. This is the book you want to get. So why do you want to get this book? It will allow you to be an informed consumer. You will not be in the dark. It's readable and it's interesting. And it's not a depressing book. The survivor stories are so interesting and they're inspiring. So, this is a must-read for everybody. The book includes experts and survivors. The experts include medical doctors, nurses, nutritionists, Sabrina, who's co-author, physical therapists, and mental health professionals. So it includes a lot more than just what do you go through when you get this diagnosis. Now, before I get into the content, I have to tell you how I met Cindy. All right? So I've been a professor at the University of Miami for 25 years now. It's ancient history. But I met Cindy when she was the administrative assistant for the Psychological Services Center. Now, you need someone who is very positive in that role. And she immediately impressed me as being bubbly, enthusiastic, and kind. And, you know, when you're dealing with clients and patients, you have to be that way. And she was the perfect person. And when she got breast cancer, instead of feeling sorry for herself and getting bogged down in the difficult aspects of it, she turned it into a positive. And as a labor of love, she wrote this book with Sabrina and compiled all the chapters that she wished that she had had when she got the diagnosis. Things you wish that you would have known. And so what a fabulous thing to do. So I commend the two of you for doing that. And I consider it a privilege to really know both of you. Okay, so let me get into a little bit of the expert coverage. Okay, so the first set of chapters are on screening techniques. They include mammography, and you've got some other choices here. MRI, ultrasound, thermography, stereotactic breast biopsies, the latest on all of this. Then you have the treatment decisions. The treatments can cover surgery. The chapters cover surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, including targeted radiation. And what you need to know is not only in the book, but what to expect, the side effects, and how to deal with the side effects. So, for example, lymphedema. There are a couple of chapters on lymphedema and what to do about it. Pain, that's another common side effect that you get. And then you have the decisions on breast reconstruction. And they've got the latest on fat grafting. And there's also a chapter on palliative care. There's also a legal chapter. So everything you would want to know is in here. Now, another thing that I was particularly impressed with is that they have a whole section on emotional issues, which are often not really well addressed. So there's a chapter on coping. There's a chapter by a psycho-oncologist who actually was a graduate student at the University of Miami, who I invite back every year to give a guest lecture. There's a chapter on sex and sexuality, right? These things that are difficult to discuss. Well, Cindy does not shy away from anything. There's a chapter on mindfulness, and there's a chapter on examining your thoughts and how to positively rewire them. Very, very nice. Then there are chapters on healthy lifestyles. Now, everybody has questions about, well, what can I do? What kind of supplements can I take to help prevent cancer and to help protect my body once I have cancer? What sorts of nutritional things are best? And Sabrina is our expert there and co-author of the book. Then there's a chapter on obesity. There's also a chapter on exercise. So there's wonderful content in here, and that doesn't include other chapters, for example, the stories of people with cancer, so that you feel like you're not alone. You go through what they went through because they open up and tell you about it. How comforting, how nice to have that sort of thing shared. And then all the chapters are great, but there's one that I was particularly moved by, which was a nurse who treats, a psycho-oncology nurse who treats cancer patients. And so she shared not only some of the things, some of the stories, but what things patients feel are particularly helpful to know. The I wish I had known stuff is all in this book. It's great. Okay, so it's a great service that Cindy and Sabrina have put this book together. It will undoubtedly help those dealing with the diagnosis and who are friends of people, friends and family of people dealing with the diagnosis and making decisions. It will take the mystery and fear out of breast cancer by making the diagnosis and what happens familiar. I enthusiastically recommend it. I was just told that I'm supposed to introduce Cindy Papale Hammontree.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Gail. And thank you, Diana, for being here to help moderate this evening. I want to share with everybody today what I was thinking driving here before I go into my story. I was inviting everybody, and as Diana mentioned, I'm very persistent. And I accidentally on Facebook hit delete for the event, and I was paranoid, and I had a dream thinking that nobody's going to show up, and we're going to sit here talking to ourselves about the book. But I have to share with everybody, I want to thank everyone for being here today. I would like to thank all the co-authors that have contributed their chapter, took time away from their family, their practices. I would like to also thank my husband, John, who has been so patient with me throughout all of this. And of course, I'd like to thank especially my co-author, Sabrina Sanchez. I love you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so a little bit about Cindy Papale. I'm persistent, as you know. Some of us know. Needless to say, when I decided to write this second book, Sabrina and I had gotten back in touch together, and I said, Sabrina, I have an idea. Let's think about writing our second book, because a lot of people were actually contacting us through emails and phone calls when we were going to write our second book. I says, boy, what are we going to write about? You know, what could we do? And then in one breath, I told her, I'm getting married again. And she thought I met somebody else. And I said, no, I'm marrying John again. She said, there was a silence on the end, I have to tell you. It was very quiet. Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. I'm so happy for you. I'm happy. Needless to say, we remarried last November 2nd. It was a beautiful wedding. It started out with 35 people. It wound up with 80 people at the Rusty Pelican. It was a beautiful event. It was very spiritual, and it was a moving day. Miami Breast Cancer Experts, I dedicated the book to my brother, Mike. Mike Papale is one of the most amazing brothers anyone can have. He lost his battle with colon cancer in 2010. And I know spiritually he is here somewhere this evening. I also want to especially thank my mom, Lena Papale, who just had her own mastectomy at the age of 85 3 months ago. I thank God that she's here today to actually see this event and come to the signing. It's very moving for me. I love you, Mom. And also, Jerry, thank you for bringing my mom, because my mom doesn't drive at 85. Miami Breast Cancer Experts. A little bit about my diagnosis in July of 2000. I was diagnosed with a stage 1 multifocal invasive breast cancer. What does multifocal mean? 3 tumors that I had behind each other, one behind each other. Like all survivors, when we hear we have breast cancer, everything's going through our minds. We're trying to think, what is it that we did wrong? Did we do something wrong? Did we do diet? Did we not exercise enough? And I just was so shocked thinking about I was diagnosed with breast cancer. My aunt had breast cancer as well, and then I started to think, oh my God, genetics. So just at the shock of the diagnosis, I took everything into my own power, and I just went with the moment. I had a lumpectomy to the mastectomy. Then I had, after the mastectomy, then I chose prophylactically the other breast. So skipping ahead, I decided to, what was I going to do with this information that I was actually reading about, not a lot, but reading about, And Dr. Ironson actually invited me to speak in one of her classes, her health psychology classes. And I said, oh my God, what am I going to say? I have no idea. So it was through speaking, public speaking in classes and then high schools and then colleges. And I found out that a lot of students didn't know that much about breast cancer. So I started to compile stories, and that in the first book, The Empty Cup Runneth Over, is based off of that. I don't want to keep talking anymore. My chapter, I Am Cindy from Birth, Boobs, and Beyond. I hope all of you enjoy it. It's just what it says, starting from birth to boobs and then beyond that. I never forget when I was young, I said I hate my breasts because they were so big, never dreaming I would ever lose them. So it's all in the chapter. I don't want to say too much more because I would like everybody to actually read the chapter. And I would like at this moment right now to introduce somebody who's very dear to me. Sabrina Sanchez.
Cindy always uses Sabrina Sanchez because that's my maiden name, and she wants me to remarry my husband one more time. I'm sure that's what's going on with that. Hernandez, Cano. We're never going to get it, but that's why we're such great partners. And I think the first thing I'd like to say is thank you to every single one of you for being here tonight. I've learned so many great lessons in the past year. I've had people that were very, very dear to me pass away. I dedicated the book to my brother, who passed away December 27 of last year, also cancer. He lost his battle, but he was fierce. He was fierce, and my chapter is all about prevention and wellness dedicated to him. And then, as life may have it, when you think you just can't take it anymore, my business partner, with Hummingwell bars, which I brought one for all of you to taste this evening, also got unexpectedly a wonderful, brilliant man, the CEO of Baptist International at one point in his life, a man that I looked up to, a man that was the business motor of what my business was going to be. I met him as I worked at Baptist International and traveled the world speaking about nutrition. He took me to places that humbled me. I went to Mexico City, Guatemala, Honduras, and I was a great experience. I learned so much about malnutrition, and I realized that every time when I came back to America is how silly we are talking about losing fat when there are people who can't get fat on their body. So it made me very passionate about people's desires and what was in their hearts. And I really got to learn as I talk to my patients, I counsel, I'm very active in a private practice, that people have desires about what they eat because it's what they feel. So I've grown a lot in the past year, and it's with a lot of passion and a lot of love that I dedicate the chapter also to Alan Brentonson, my past business partner. He passed away January of this year from an angiosarcoma, unexpectedly, just like that. So we're blessings. Every single one of you here alive and breathing and able to touch and feel is a blessing. I've learned that so well this past year. I want to tell you how I met Cindy because not only is it funny, but it is just for the books, really. I was with Alan Brentonson at Dan Marino's restaurant, and we were discussing who Hummingwell would donate to. You know, if you look at the box of Hummingwell, we have the St. Jude's Kids, because when Alan and I met, we were both donating to St. Jude's Kids individually. So we bonded together, and this is who we help, because we were so passionate about children having cancer. That's such a wrong thing. We need to make a difference. So Cindy is in the restaurant, and she overhears our conversation. Just like that. Cindy waits till, and she was long done with her lunch, and she waits till we eat, and we eat slow, because that's one of the things that I try to incorporate in everyone's mind, is that the slower you eat, the longer the pleasure's gonna last, so eat slowly. And so Cindy waits, I have the ticket in my hand, because it was valet, I remember, and Cindy chases me down and says, wait, did you say cancer? And I said, I did. Hi. She says, I'm Cindy, and I'm writing a book. And I said, I'm a nutritionist. Hi, nice to meet you. And she says, and I think I want you to participate in it. So I said, okay, here's, I guess, I don't know if I had a card. We exchanged phone numbers, and little did I know that as life may bring it, a few weeks later, my mother, my life, who's here today, my beautiful mother, a survivor of as many years as I've known Cindy, 2 weeks later, my mother gets diagnosed with breast cancer. So Cindy became my angel. And anything Cindy would ask me, I was in a complete, just fog, and I would say, yes, I will. But it was through putting the first book together, The Empty Cup Runneth Over, that I learned so much about breast cancer. That's all good. That's all really interesting. I had to write the nutrition chapter in tears, many times with my German Shepherd on the floor going, I don't know if I could do this. I really don't know if I could do this, Cindy. And Cindy would say, yes, you can. Your mom's going to be great. She's going to be fine. The type of cancer she has is blah, 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 blah. So Cindy was my angel. She was my angel that got me through my mother's devastating diagnosis, which was pretty bad. She had it in the lymph nodes, and thanks to the Miami experts, that's why we put them together, my mom is alive and kicking and well. She said to me, it was so funny, she said, if I survive this, even a camel I'm gonna ride. So I had to take her to Egypt, put her on a camel. But then her oncologist happens to have a passion with France. So in one of her latest follow-ups, he's talking about going to France, and have your mom ever been to France? And I said, no. And he said, well, maybe that's where you should take her, because she's looking pretty good, and she looks like she's going to be around for a long time. So my mom quickly said, the Eiffel Tower. So I took her to France. Many of you who are my friends in Facebook have seen that I had it was the most incredible blessing of my life to be able to have that experience with my mom. So where do we go from here? Well, it's really neat, because I always said when Alan passed away, I will never, ever, 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 ever have another partner as fabulous, as wonderful, as great as Alan Brentonson. And Cindy, remembers, my angel at this point. She has, I'm not thinking business partner. Well, Cindy is now my business partner. And we've decided that we have a responsibility. Not only is it Miami breast cancer experts, but the #1 killer of women, and that's why we're both wearing red today, is heart disease. So don't be surprised if by Cindy's motor and engine, we end up with Miami heart experts. And we fight that battle as well. We're also going to be donating to St. Jude. So with every book signed tonight, we have joined forces with Hummingwell, and we have joined forces with Miami breast cancer experts. So hopefully one day, our dream is that we can have that big check in front of St. Jude's and present it. And I'm very humble, but I'm not shy. So it's an honor that we may be able to one day provide that fabulous check to help those kids that if you have cancer, and I know what that's all about, because my kid has an intestinal duplication at 5 days old, and the hospital that needed to operate him did not have insurance. So I know what it's all about to be a mom, walk into a hospital and say, my kid needs surgery, and your insurance not cover it. I know that because I'm still paying for it. So we don't want that to happen to children who are faced with cancer, who come from all over the world. And thanks to St. Jude's, they're able to get full care, recovery, and be on their way. So we're very proud of that. We're very proud of that. And now I just want to read you a little bit about my chapter. My chapter is about wellness and prevention. I rewrote it like 20 times, because in the last chapter I wrote about nausea and vomiting and what you have to deal with when you have breath. And this time I said, you know what? If you have nausea and vomiting, come see me. I'm going to help you one-on-one. This book is completely all about wellness and prevention. And it's about what to do to not get cancer. And if you already have it, the future of medicine is good nutrition. So I have a little section that I put functional foods. It is very exciting time for the science of nutrition. For years, we have focused on what foods we should avoid. Stop eating this, stop eating that. That's not fancy anymore. What's really fancy is that today's research is revealing a lot more about the benefits of certain foods that have a potentially positive effect on health beyond basic nutrition. These are called functional foods. These foods contain phytochemicals, phyto, which means plants. These plant substances fight for our health. So I leave you with that, and I invite you to eat a higher plant food. I invite you to seek foods that give you medicine. They're available. I put some of them in the book, and now I'd like to, with so much honor and so much pride, I love her because she has the voice of angels. She sings beautifully, and I always tell her, bust a note wherever we are. And maybe she will tonight. But she has one of the most beautiful voices I have ever heard. She is not only a beautiful singer, but she is so talented, she plays the saxophone. And she is also a professor of the voice, in case you want to learn how to sing. And I think we all should, because we have a blessed life. And with that, Judy Garcia, come on down. And before I give the microphone to Judy, I'd like to say that we could have never done this without Daria and Lisa. And there are brochures out there in case you also, besides singing, you want to write a book. Without Rightstream Publishing, there would have never been a book. So thank you so much. She's here tonight. That was a beautiful introduction. Love you. I have to take them home.
Okay. I'm taller. Wow. I'm a singer, and I never get nervous when I get on stage. This is the first time I'm like very nervous because I actually have no words to thank you for asking me to be a part of this book. I'm probably the least qualified to be in it. But thank you for having me write a chapter. My chapter is about I guess early diagnosis and the importance of young women my age going to the doctor to get checked, because I don't think enough of us are proactive about that. At least I wasn't. And when I met Cindy in a very unconventional way, which I'll talk about, it was sort of like Sabrina's, but yeah. Anyway, so I ended up singing at her wedding. So, because she's like that. So, but yeah, I expressed to her that for a while I had felt some lumps on my breast, and I was terrified to go to the doctor. I didn't think I had the courage to do so. And she told me, look, if you don't go get checked, you could have something and it could be worse later. And I guess up until that point, I hadn't really thought about it. And I think that's what happens to young women nowadays too. They feel something if they get checked, or they check themselves, and they're not proactive enough to say, let me go get checked, or maybe they don't have insurance. So Cindy helped me, and that's why I named my chapter Angels in Disguise, because that's what she has been for me. I went to the doctor, and thank God that I did not have cancer. But I did have lumps. They were benign. And so, I was blessed. But my chapter is about my journey throughout that, because I don't think it gets talked about enough, the importance. You're going to see women here tonight who survived cancer, but I mean, it's also just as terrifying to think that you might have it also. And it's so important for women, for young women, young women like in their 20s, to get checked, and that doesn't get talked about enough. So I guess if I'm doing anything in this chapter, it's talking about that, and my experience in meeting Cindy, who is such a blessing. I met her. I was a server at the Rusty Pelican at the time. And she didn't overhear me talking. I overheard her talking, but she just brought me into the conversation. She was there with, who is also on the panel, Patricia, who I will be introducing later. And she just started talking to me, and somehow I ended up singing at her wedding, whatever. So I really wanted to, I think I touched a little bit on my chapter about the importance of music, and the importance of music being such a healer also, because music calms us, and music heals us also. I believe that when we go through something, we always go to music, And there's so many types of music for everything. There's jazz, there's hip hop, there's Christian music, you know. And I honestly, I firmly believe that music can heal the soul if you're listening to the correct things, you know. I don't rap, but I would. Anyway, so I'm beyond honored to be a part of this book. I'm the least qualified and probably the one that feels the most honored to be a part of it. Thank you, Cindy, for being a part of my life and for helping me, you know, be aware to take care of myself in this way, you know, and I hope that women out there who are, you know, young and think that they don't have to wait until after their 30s or after their 40s to get checked, you know, don't wait, because you never know. Sometimes you don't feel anything, and you have, you know, you could prevent you know, a catastrophe or whatever. So anyway, my iPad will open. I'm gonna introduce the next speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce her because she's someone who she's someone to be admired, not only professionally but also personally. And she's such a magnificent woman and a human being to all of us, and to all of us who consider her a friend. I mean, wow, like it's so amazing to know her. Please welcome a four-time Emmy Award-winning producer, accomplished author, photographer, entrepreneur, and a true inspiration and example of the courageous woman I hope to one day become, Patricia San Pedro.
It's a love fest. We just love that. I'm not going to tell you how I met Cindy because it's about the same story. This is about the book. My chapter is called Joy is the Choice, because we have that choice to make in life, no matter what it is that we're going through. So I decided to write a chapter from the patient's perspective, and I'm going to read you two little paragraphs. On April 10th, 2008, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. As you would assume, the diagnosis shook my foundation and brought my very busy life to a screeching halt. I was sitting right here at Books and Books when I got the call to tell me that I had cancer. I was with my friend Lydia. Sadness took over every cell of my body. Yet there was something about this that did not surprise me. Maybe I had always known, since my mom, Daisy, passed away from breast cancer at only 59. Driving back home with my friend, I looked up to the sky. It was a bright and sunny day. The world had absolutely no clue what I had just learned. Everything seemed normal. I didn't understand. I had always been an over-the-top positive person. That's why they call me Positively Pat. But how could I possibly see this glass as half full? But I did, and I continue to, because it's a choice that we make in our lives. So yes, I went through breast cancer. I went through a year of chemotherapy, which I call sacred juice, because it's healing. So I refused to look at this as something toxic that was going to create havoc in my life. Why would I do such a thing? So I welcomed every single sacred juice session, 17 of them. I lost my hair, I lost my breasts, I got my hair back, I got better breasts. So yes, this is about breast cancer, but it's also about the difficulties and the challenges that we all face in life. So it could be disease, it could be a divorce, it can be financial worries, it could be self-esteem, it can be anything. The choice is yours. How are you going to deal with it? My choice is always joy. now I have such a privilege of introducing an amazing man who is just brilliant. I'm going to read it because he's just so distinguished, I can't even remember half of this stuff. Dr. Daniel Calva. He is distinguished plastic and reconstructive surgeon in Miami at the Miami Breast Center, along with Dr. Roger Corey. Dr. Calva obtained his bachelor's at Georgetown University, where he graduated, of course, with honors. He then attended one of the top medical schools in the country, the esteemed Carver Medical School of Medicine. After medical school, he went to training, 7 years, became board certified as a general surgeon at the University of Iowa Hospital Clinics, one of the top residency programs in the country. He did 2 years of molecular genetics, where he conducted award-winning research on cancer biology and was awarded 2 grants by the National Institute of Health. Dr. Calva served as the first administrative chief resident in the Department of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery at Johns Hopkins Hospital. And to date, Dr. Calva is the first and only recipient within the Department of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery to receive the prestigious Frank Colson Jr. Award for Clinical and Academic Excellence at Johns Hopkins. May I present the amazing Dr. Calva.
Well, I swear I did not pay her to say any of those things. And I apologize for my congested voice. I'm actually coming out of a cold, but it's truly a pleasure to be here with everybody. What a wonderful setting. I work at the Miami Breast Center with Dr. Curry and Dr. Nadal, and what we do for the most part is breast reconstruction. There are many ways of reconstructing the breast after breast cancer, which is foreign bodies such as implants or your own tissues like fat or muscle. And we focus on a very gentle and very unique way to reconstruct the breast, which is with fat grafting. Our setting is quite unique because we get the opportunity to really become one-on-one with the patient in terms of like a family member. We see them multiple times. There's multiple operations. So we create a bond that's a very unique bond, and we follow that reconstruction. And it's more for the uniqueness of the patient, how big they want to be, how symmetrical, where they want their breasts to lie. Do they want them a little higher, a little lower? And it's sort of a more individual approach to breast reconstructions that you would get with an implant or something else, where you tend to have one operation and that's it. So I have the unique opportunity to be able to do that for patients. I just graduated from Hopkins in June and joined Dr. Curry in Key Biscayne, and I've been able to do this for about 4 months, and I can tell you that it's been an honor and a pleasure to be able to do this with patients. Cindy and Sabrina, thank you so much for allowing us to be part of the book. I think this book is so important. It touches all aspects of breast cancer, from diagnosis to the management to finally the reconstruction, which is what we focus on. So thank you so much. And I think, Cindy, you're next, right? You're next? Or all right.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Cindy.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope I don't get the cold. Okay. I would like to introduce now to you an amazing person that, okay, I won't tell you how we met. Okay. I'll let you. I would like to introduce you Julie Guy from 101.5 Light FM, an amazing person with heart.
Hard to. I feel very inadequate. I really do. I will tell you how I met Cindy, because everyone else did. You know when I met Cindy? 20 minutes ago. I'm not kidding. I really met her 20 minutes ago. But I feel like I've known Cindy for years, because that's what happens when you meet Cindy, right? She just kind of sucks you in, and that's it. You're just there. We had mutual friends. Pat and I have known for each other for many, many years, and your breasts are fabulous, by the way. But so we had mutual friends, and I knew you were legit. And Facebook is a wonderful tool. You know, it's some bad things about it, but for the most part, it's pretty wonderful. And she asked me, would you read some of these chapters for this book? And I'd love for you to write a little something about it. And I was worried. And I thought, oh, breast cancer book. I don't have time for this. I have kids. I have a life. I'm on the radio. I'm very busy. And I was worried that it would be sad and boring and everything that you said. And it's none of those. It was inspiring and funny. And I loved your chapter about marrying your husband twice. That's got to be a book in and of itself. Like, you really should write that book. It really is beautiful. And it's shared experiences. And when they're shared experiences, it's just so much better. You're not alone. You share fears, doubts, hopes, happiness, dreams. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's a book that has to be read. The messages are fantastic, and it should be read. They should be reread because you'll forget. I forgot about your nutrition chapter, which I need to go back and read again because I'm all about nutrition and I'm all about it. Well, no, but there's something about that too. But I am very into that. And I know preventative is a huge part of being healthy. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it is what it is, but it could help. It was no coincidence also that this morning I was at the Race for the Cure 5K, and I ran. And there were probably 20th anniversary, which is fantastic, and it gets bigger and bigger every year. Probably 20 to 30,000 people were there. And at one point, I just looked up, and it was a sea of pink. And you know, pink represents breast cancer, but pink doesn't just represent breast cancer. It represents hope and inspiration and support. More than anything, support and love. And that's what this book does too. So you have to have it. It needs to be on your bookshelf. It needs to be in your library. You just have to have it. Christmas is coming, the holidays. You have to buy one for your friends, for your family, and you have to buy one for you. It's really important, and you should have it. And I'm honored that you asked me to do that, and I'm so happy that I met you. Because I know, and by the way, my mom unfortunately did pass away from heart disease, so I'm sure that I'll be a part of that book too. So there you go. We always have a shared something. So thank you very much. Now it is my pleasure. They have their pens ready to sign. Please buy the book today. It's important. You need to. But before I do that, I have the pleasure of bringing up a Peabody Award-winning producer, Derek Britt, lives in New York, but made his way down to South Florida. And I guess there's some very big project in the works that I'll let him talk about. So, Derek Britt.
Yes, so we are making a feature film. Congratulations on the book, it's extraordinary. How do you make a feature film about a topic like breast cancer? That's what I hear from the studios when you pre-pitch it. How do you make a movie about breast cancer? Okay, Sandra Bullock, sounds good, but it's breast cancer. Go to Lifetime, go to Hallmark, not for Warner Brothers, not for HBO. You start with a character. And that's where we started right here with Cindy. So I met Cindy a few years ago. And I started thinking, she told me the story about her life, her friends, and kind of got this idea that, you know, maybe there's a story in there. There's a little bit of a story. I'm sure a lot of you have seen films that have breast cancer or stroke, or, you know, films that deal with death and sadness. So we decided, let's take a little twist in this thing. Let's take something like As Good as It Gets, you know, which was that OCD, and it was intense, and it was this great comedic struggle. And let's start with the character that embodies the spirit that she told me right from the beginning, that this was the worst thing that ever happened to her, which was the best thing that ever happened to her. And it brought her to you guys. It brought her to her friend Patricia, who's become a big character in the book, who's also helping to write the character in the movie, is helping to write the movie. And so I've since gone back as a screenwriter and a director. You know, you try to figure out, how do you do this? How do you take all of these people here and their stories and make it incredible, make it romantic, make it hilarious, make it sexy? How do you do that? And we take this whole idea, I can't tell you the film, we take this whole idea of everything everyone's been through, here that I never knew. I haven't been through this. I know people who've been through this, but I had no idea until I dug in, and we spent years figuring this out. And Cindy impatiently says, calls me at 2 in the morning. When is this going to be done? It's been years, it's been weeks, it's been months. I don't believe you. And I'll send her an email with from one of the networks or the studios saying, look, we love the story, but keep working on it. And so I think what's going to come out of this thing very soon here is a story that hopefully everyone who's ever seen a film, that they just love the characters, they love the story, and they've forgotten why it was about a topic that was so deep. I think that's what we're going to do here. We're going to make a story that is about the characters, about the people, about the life and the hope and the just relationships and the sisters, all the gals that have been supportive, and the guys that come and go and come and go and come and go. And come and go. So it's actually quite amazing, and I know I go to book ceremonies sometimes, and you have friends and you have people that say, hey, I've put out a book, you want to read my book, it's going to be great. It's one of the first books I've seen or read in a long time that I actually honestly want to commend you guys. It's incredible, an amazing book, and I'm just privileged to be here. Thank you. Bye, guys.
And now we would like to take this opportunity, and I see some faces, but this book would not be the expert foundation. The beautiful, beautiful essence of this book is because of the people that contributed each of their chapter. And we'd like to recognize each and every one of those experts. And we want to start with...
I don't have my glasses on. So Dr. Paul Slawick. Dr. Paul Slawick. He did the mammography chapter.
He did the mammography and ultrasound chapter.
MRI.
And MRI. The next chapter,
She's not here.
Oh, she's not here. Okay, but Donna Tomei.
Donna Tomei, we thank you for writing the chapter on thermography. Unfortunately, she was ill and could not be here this evening, but we thank her.
The next chapter is surgical oncology, mastectomy, and lumpectomy.
Dr. Nicholas Tronicus.
Thank you. And my wonderful husband wrote the chapter on stereotactic breast biopsies, and actually saved my mom's life because he actually saw the lump on my mom in her neck one Saturday evening and said she needs to go to surgery on Monday morning. And I said, oh, shut your mouth. You want everybody to go to surgery. What's wrong with you? Including our kid at 5 days old. But he was right. My mom's cancer had gone right into her lymph nodes in her neck. So he's my hero. And if we could just, Alejandro Hernandez. We're celebrating our 21-year anniversary. Been married for 21 years, and he's still my hero.
The next chapter is on breast reconstruction by Dr. Sylvia Rottenberg, and I believe she had a family emergency as well and unfortunately could not be here, but it's another option for breast reconstruction. It's an excellent chapter, and I am sure everyone will find important, good information in that chapter.
Our next, you got to hear about Dr. Daniel Calva on fat grafting and breast reconstruction options. The next chapter, chemotherapy treatment, Alyssa Krill-Jackson.
Dr. Krill,
Dr.
she was
Krill.
here, I saw her earlier. Okay. The next chapter is on radiation oncology. Dr. Nicholas Koretsky. Dr. Koretsky here? Okay. Okay.
The next chapter is new strides in breast cancer, Beatriz Amendola.
It's another option for for radiation oncology. Okay.
Red balloon. The next chapter is the red balloon with lymphedema, Elizabeth Ann Ouellette. Thank you.
And here's another important chapter that I have also lymphedema. It's important on lymphatic drainage by Samara Christie. Samara?
Okay.
Dennis Patton.
The next chapter is pain management.
This is very important
Dennis
chapter.
Patton.
The pain management. Thank you.
Through the eyes.
Yes. Through the eyes of an oncology nurse. This is one of the most moving and touching chapters that I have read as well in the book, as Dr. Gail Ironson mentioned. Janet Villalobos.
Villalobos.
Villalobos. Oh, and who is this? Oh, chapter 15, I believe is, I don't want to get the name right. Sabrina Hernandez Cano. Okay, that's you.
And a dear friend of mine who wrote the obesity and breast cancer chapter, I believe Dr. Moises Jacobs, and medical student. Are you here tonight?
Okay.
Not here tonight. Okay, wrote the chapter on bariatric surgery when you have no other choice and you really need to get that weight down.
The next chapter is chapter 17 by a dear friend of mine's husband, Eileen, Mr. Don Torek. He writes about what do we know about exercise and your health. Mr. Don Torek.
Chapter 18 is Nurture Our Breast, Heart, and Lungs, Yoga Belly Dance series with Michelle Alva.
Chapter 19, On the Other Side of the Couch, by a dear friend of mine who is a psychologist, started out at the University of Miami and now in private practice, Dr. Nicole Eldridge Marquez.
Is she here? Mindfulness and positive rewiring of our thoughts, Cynthia O'Doherty.
And here's another chapter that's very dear to me. One of our Link of Hope sisters. It's a therapist, wife, mother, and survivor, Mary Darling Montero.
Breast Cancer and Its Treatment, Effects on Sex and Sexuality with Christina Pozo Kaderman. Peace of Mind Planning, the legal side of things. And this chapter was very interesting. We didn't have anything like this in the first book. And the first thing my mom said to me when she was diagnosed is, oh, great, your dad's going to give everything away to other women. And I thought, oh my goodness, Mom, what a terrible thing. And she said, I want to go see an attorney. First time ever. So I want my children to end up with I'm like, Mom. So we ended up talking to Jonathan David, attorney, on peace of mind planning. So my mom had great peace of mind during her breast cancer.
You do that one.
Palliative Care, It's Never Too Early with Kin M. Zaw and Mariana Kawand. Are you here tonight?
Congratulations on the little boy. Recently had a baby about, 2 months ago, 3 months? 4 months ago. Thank you so much. Excellent chapter on palliative care. Something that I never really understood until my brother was going through it. You hear the words palliative care and it's like end of the line story, but your story is so inspirational. Thank you. No, that's okay. The next chapter is by a dear friend who just spoke today, Joy is the Choice, Patricia San Pedro.
Thank you.
The next chapter, it was done a little bit differently by a very special young lady who has not only had breast cancer, had to actually go through the trauma of a brain tumor. She's very dear to many of us that know her here. And it's actually done in an interview way. It's actually her stepmom had interviewed her and she had answered the questions. It's beautifully done. I can't wait for everybody to read this chapter. Astrid Nicastri. Woo-hoo! Thank you, Astrid.
And Angels in Disguise was written by our beautiful vocalist, Judy Garcia. Bust a note! Come on, sing! Sing for us.
We realize this is a little bit different kind of a book signing. You know, usually you have one author or two authors, and we decided that we wanted to have a panel because we wanted everyone to really understand what was written in the book and what other than having experts talk a little bit about it. So we want to thank everyone here this evening for being here, and I really hope that everyone will come over to the other side so we can go ahead and sign your books. Thank you so much. Thank you, my Facebook friends. I see some of you here are recognized by your face. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for coming here
And
today.
also thank you to Gail Ironson for helping us make sense of all of this. Thank you. My pleasure.
Folks, thanks once again for being here for this very important work. We hope you all learned a lot from it. Our distinguished panel, Cindy, Sabrina, Diana, thank you. The books are for sale. I'm going to do something here. We're going to keep this signing in this room. So if I could ask you to stand, if you could fold your chairs and lean them up against the back, that way you can all come up. They're already sitting here. You got to buy your books, bring them up here. If you're watching online, give us a call. We'll get you some books signed. Thank you so much for coming.